Namaste. In the previous class, we started with the chemical properties of haloarenes. We discussed about why haloarenes are less reactive towards nucleophilic substitution, primarily the reasons being resonance. Because of resonance, the carbon halogen bond assumes a partial double bond character. Resonance also introduces extra stability to the molecule, therefore, it is less reactive. The hybridization of the carbon as well. The nature of hybridization is sp2, which will again result in increasing electronegativity of the carbon, thereby reducing the length of the bond between C and X. Repulsion between the incoming nucleophile and the existing halogen of the haloarene. All of these, along with the instability of the phenyl carbocation that is formed, make aryl halides less reactive towards nucleophilic substitution. However, if you still want the reaction to happen, it can only happen so under very drastic conditions of high temperature and high pressure. We also looked at how an electron withdrawing group, if it is present attached to the haloarene, will reduce the need for the external conditions. If you had three electron withdrawing groups, so basically three nitro groups, then all you need to do for this reaction to happen is just warm. So reactions will not happen naturally, unlike alkyl halides, but you need drastic conditions for the same. Then we introduced you to the second property, which is electrophilic substitution. We said any alkyl halide or any aryl halide, any aromatic compound which has a benzene ring will characteristically undergo electrophilic substitution reaction. Electrophilic substitution reaction is a reaction where hydrogen of the benzene ring will be substituted by an incoming electrophile. An electrophile is somebody who likes negatively charged centers, who likes electrons, so they are either positively charged or deficient in electrons. So the next question was, which hydrogen will be removed from the benzene ring? Whether are they the ortho hydrogens or the para hydrogens or the meta hydrogens? We said that this is decided by the group that is attached to benzene. The nature of that group, whether it is electron releasing or electron withdrawing, will determine whether the products will be ortho para or whether it will be meta. For a group to be electron releasing in nature, the atom that is bonded to the benzene ring should have a lone pair. If it has a lone pair, it will push electrons into the benzene ring. Thereby, the uh, electron density will be high at ortho and para positions, which will result in the incoming electrophile being pushed towards either the ortho or the para position, giving us ortho and para products. And we also said the para product is more stable because of less steric hindrance. The ortho product is less stable because of more steric hindrance. We also said if I have an electron withdrawing group attached to the benzene ring, it will be electron withdrawing in nature and meta directing in nature. The products will be meta in nature. So we looked at why it is so as well. In the case of chlorobenzene, there is resonance, which is something that we already saw in a couple of classes. The resonance will introduce resonating structures, and in the resonating structures, the negative charges are concentrated at the ortho and para positions only, indicating that these are positions of very high electron density. Then we looked at halogenation as an example, as the first case. Halogenation is carried out in the presence of Cl2 and anhydrous FeCl3. The electrophile that is in question here is Cl plus. Clear? Cl plus will attack either the ortho hydrogen or the para hydrogen to form the para product or the ortho product. And we said due to steric hindrance and repulsion, which is more in the case of ortho product, the para product will be the major product and ortho product will be the minor product. So this is where we stop. I asked you to go through the electrophilic substitution, various electrophilic substitutions that you have studied in your first year. The second electrophilic substitution is called as nitration. Now, nitration is nothing but a reaction where a nitro group is substituted in place of a hydrogen. Clear? So for nitration, I need the electrophile which is NO2 plus. So NO2 plus is the electrophile. Now, who is going to give us the electrophile? It is a mixture of concentrated HNO3 and concentrated H2SO4 taken in equal quantities. This equimolar mixture of concentrated nitric acid and sulfuric acid is called nitrating mixture. It's called what? Nitrating mixture. So this is what we studied in the last year. A nitrating mixture gives us the electrophile which is NO2 plus, and just like in the previous case, NO2 plus can either get substituted at the ortho position or it can get substituted at the para position. So if it gets substituted at ortho, we get ortho nitrochlorobenzene. So that is the common name, ortho nitrochlorobenzene, or the IUPAC name 1-chloro-2-nitrobenzene. Clear? So this will be the IUPAC name. There's also one more name, ortho-chloro-nitrobenzene or ortho-nitrochlorobenzene. The other product will be para, where NO2 is attached at the para position, 1-chloro-4-nitrobenzene. And we also said that nitro, if it is attached at the para position, will result in extra stability. The para product will be the major product and the ortho product will be the minor product. Clear? So pretty straightforward. All right. Yeah. Coming to the third electrophilic substitution. The third electrophilic substitution is called sulfonation. Now, sulfonation is a reaction where an SO3 group gets substituted in place of a hydrogen. An SO3 group gets incorporated in place of a hydrogen. Here, the electrophile is SO3 and it is neutral. SO3 is a neutral electrophile. Unlike all the previous electrophiles that we saw, which were positively charged, SO3 is an exception where it is a neutral electrophile. Now, this is something that we understood last year. SO3 is an electrophile in spite of being neutral. We explained the reason as well, but I want you to take it as homework. Find out why SO3 is a electrophile in spite of being neutral. Why does it need electrons? Usually somebody who is positively charged would need electrons, right? Why does SO3 need electrons in spite of being neutral is something that I want you to look back. Clear? All right. So if I have chlorobenzene, if I start with chlorobenzene, hydrogen either at ortho or para positions can be substituted by SO3. SO3 gets incorporated and then H plus adds on to that. Yeah. So therefore, the overall reaction looks like SO3H has got substituted, but it is not SO3H, which is the nucleophile, the electrophile. The electrophile is SO3. SO3 will come in, attack the benzene ring, and then a negative charge is formed to which H plus adds. Clear? To form SO3H. You get two products, ortho product and the para product, 2-chlorobenzene sulfonic acid or 4-chlorobenzene sulfonic acid. We have seen so far that it is the para product that will be the major product. Clear? Done? All right, that leads us to the last type of electrophilic substitution reaction, which is Friedel-Crafts reaction. Clear? Friedel-Crafts reaction. We need to be very familiar with that. A Friedel-Crafts reaction is of two types. Which are the two types of Friedel-Crafts reaction? The first one is alkylation. The second one is acylation. So the first Friedel-Crafts reaction is alkylation. The second Friedel-Crafts reaction is acylation. In alkylation, as the name itself indicates, a hydrogen of the benzene ring is substituted by an alkyl group. An alkyl group behaves as an electrophile. So in general, alkyl groups are R groups. Clear? So the electrophile will be R plus. R plus will get substituted in place of a hydrogen. What is acylation? Acylation is a reaction where a hydrogen of the benzene ring is substituted by an acyl group. Now, who is an acyl group? RCO group. RCO plus. RCO plus is an acyl electrophile. If an acyl group gets substituted in place of hydrogen, then we call that reaction as acylation reaction. So coming to the specific case here, for carrying out alkylation, the reagent that we need to start with is alkyl halide. So alkyl halide will give me the alkyl electrophile. Clear? So when you take an alkyl halide, hydrogen either at ortho or para will get substituted. That H plus will take away. So if I have H plus here or hydrogen here, this H plus will take away Cl minus to go out as HCl. Okay, to go out as HCl. In place of that hydrogen, who's coming in? CH3 is coming in. CH3 plus is coming in to form the ortho product. If that CH3 gets substituted at the para position, you get the para product. Clear? So this is orthochlorotoluene. This is parachlorotoluene. Remember, we studied it last year. If CH3 group is attached to benzene, then we call that compound as toluene. Or in IUPAC terms, 1-chloro-2-methyl benzene. So 1-chloro-2-methyl benzene. This will be what? 1-chloro-4-methyl benzene or parachlorotoluene. Clear? So this is an example for alkylation reaction. Then coming to acylation, we said for alkylation, the starting compound that you need to take is alkyl halide in the presence of anhydrous aluminum chloride. Whereas for acylation, the starting compound will be acyl chloride. So for alkylation, it's alkyl chloride, whereas for acylation, it will be acyl chloride. Same reaction will happen here. Hydrogen from either the ortho position or the para position will get substituted by the acyl group. The hydrogen of the benzene ring is taken away by chlorine here as HCl. This group CH3CO plus will get substituted either at ortho or para position. If it gets substituted at ortho, this is the product you get, 2-chloroacetophenone. So this compound without chlorobenzene, this entire compound is called as acetophenone. 2-acetophenone, chlorine is attached at which position? Second position. So this is carbon 1, this is carbon 2. So 2-chloroacetophenone, or the other product is 4-chloroacetophenone, which is the para product. Naturally, the para isomer is the major product. It is formed in larger quantity because it is more stable than the ortho product. This is an example for acylation reaction. Clear? So these are the 4 electrophilic substitution reactions. starting from chlorination, nitration, sulfonation, and then Friedel-Crafts reaction. Under Friedel-Crafts, you have two reactions, alkylation and acylation. Clear? All right. Then comes the next reaction. Now, this is something that we have already studied in alkyl halides, but we will be looking at it with an aryl halide perspective. This reaction is called Wurtz-Fittig reaction. What is the name of the reaction? Wurtz-Fittig reaction. We studied Wurtz reaction in alkyl halides. Now, what is Wurtz reaction? Do you remember? We solved a lot of problems there as well. When two alkyl halides react in the presence of sodium and dry ether, we get a higher alkane. That is Wurtz reaction. When two alkyl halides react with sodium in the presence of dry ether, we get a higher alkane. Now, what is Wurtz-Fittig reaction? Everything remains the same. I have sodium, I have ether. What is the difference? Instead of two alkyl halides, we will be taking one of them will be alkyl halide and the other will be aryl halide. That's the only difference. Since here we are talking about properties of aryl halides, naturally one of the starting compounds should be an aryl halide or should be a haloarine. Correct? So the only difference between Wurtz reaction and Wurtz-Fittig reaction is in Wurtz reaction, we take 2 moles of alkyl halide, whereas in Wurtz-Fittig reaction, one of them should compulsorily be aryl halide. Other than that, everything else remains the same. We saw how the reaction happens as well, correct? So I'll have halogen from here taking away sodium and the halogen from here to go out as what? To go out as NaX. Clear? It will go out as NaX. If I have 2 moles of that, 2 moles of sodium, I will have 2 moles of NaX. Clear? Then in place of the halogen that is bonded there, R group comes in. Clear? R group will get substituted to form alkyl benzene. To form what? Alkyl benzene. This reaction is called Wurtz-Fittig reaction. I want you to prepare right now. Right now, I want you to write the reaction for preparation of toluene. I want you to prepare toluene using Wurtz-Fittig reaction. Done? So what is toluene? Yes, toluene is benzene ring with CH3. Clear? Toluene is benzene ring with CH3. If you need to prepare this, what should be your starting compound? You should start with chlorobenzene and react it with methyl chloride. So when you start with chlorobenzene and methyl chloride, the product that you get is toluene. Clear? I want you to take a homework. I want you to prepare isopropyl benzene. I want you to prepare isopropyl benzene. Iso means branched, propyl means three carbon atoms, isopropyl benzene. I want you to prepare this. There's another common name for this compound. It is called as cumene. It is called as cumene. So I want you to prepare isopropyl benzene using Wurtz-Fittig reaction. There's a reason why I'm giving you this homework right now, because in the next chapter, we will be coming across cumene. So if you know to prepare it right now, it will be easy for you to understand what cumene is when I introduce it to you in the next chapter. Clear? So take that as homework. Then comes the next reaction, which is called as Fittig reaction. Clear? Now we looked at Wurtz reaction, we looked at Wurtz-Fittig reaction, and this is Fittig reaction, just Fittig reaction. Now I'll give you a few seconds to look at this reaction. I want you to observe this reaction and see what is the difference and what is the similarity between Fittig reaction, Wurtz reaction, and Wurtz-Fittig reaction. So go ahead, look at the reaction, find out what are the similarities and what are the differences. Done? Are you able to figure it out? Yes. In Wurtz reaction, the two starting compounds were alkyl halides. In Wurtz-Fittig reaction, the two starting compounds were, one was an alkyl halide and the other was an aryl halide. Whereas in Fittig reaction, the two starting compounds, both of them are aryl halides. Clear? This is the difference between the three reactions, Wurtz-Fittig, and Fittig. What are the similarities? What are the other reagents taken? Sodium and ether. So these two are similarities, which means the reaction conditions are the same, except that who are we starting with? If we start with 2 moles of alkyl halide, then reaction is Wurtz. If we start with 1 mole of alkyl halide and 1 mole of aryl halide, we are carrying out Wurtz-Fittig. If we are carrying out reaction with 2 moles of aryl halide, then we call this reaction as Fittig reaction. Yeah, so 2 moles of aryl halide react with 2 sodium atoms in the presence of ether. We know what happens. Both the halogens are taken away by sodium to go out as NaX, and whoever is remaining. So who is remaining here? 2 benzene rings are remaining. 2 benzene rings come together to form diphenyl. Diphenyl is the compound that is obtained. Clear? So this reaction is called as Fittig reaction. Now, the three reactions are important: Wurtz-Fittig, and Fittig. One of these three will surely be asked in your exam. They might look like three different reactions, But actually speaking, looking at the reaction conditions, all three are the same, except that what are you starting with. So once again, let me repeat. If the two starting compounds are alkyl halides, then the reaction is Wurtz. If one of them is an alkyl halide and one of them is an aryl halide, then it is Wurtz-Fittig. If both of them are aryl halides, then it is Fittig reaction. So I want you to take these three reactions as homework. I want you to write examples for Wurtz, examples for Wurtz-Fittig, and Fittig. Yeah. So as I've already told you, 1 out of 3 will surely come in your final exam, both with respect to PU as well as competitive. Clear? All right. This leads to the last part of this chapter. We looked at why to study them with respect to the properties. We are going to talk about why do we need to study them, focusing on the uses. Now, man is always very important, or man always looks at what I can gain from anything that is around me. So, haloalkanes, haloarenes, what does man get from using these compounds is what is our last leg of our study, which is uses. Now, when we talk about the uses of haloalkanes or haloarenes, usually we are talking about polyhalogen compounds. Now, polyhalogen compounds, as the name itself indicates, contain more than one or more than two uh, halogen atoms. Clear? If it is present, then we call such compounds as polyhalogen compounds. Now, I've just listed a few of them that is there in your syllabus, along with a couple of uses where you just know them for what they are, so that you can understand them when you start using them on a daily basis. You can relate to this compound when you use any of these on a daily basis. So let's start with the first one, methylene chloride. Methylene chloride, we already know the structure of that, CH2Cl2. Methylene chloride is used as a solvent, is used as a propellant in aerosols, and used in metal cleansing or metal cleaning. The second one is chloroform, CHCl3. Chloroform is something that you would already know, is used as an anesthetic. Clear? Anesthesia. It was used in olden times, and it is also a very good solvent. Coming to iodoform, iodoform is a very good antiseptic. Clear? Iodoform is a very good antiseptic. Now, what is an antiseptic? Antiseptic is something that prevents an infection. The moment you get hurt, there's a small cut in your skin, you apply an ointment. You either apply a sulfamycin or some other general ointment. These are antiseptic creams. Now, iodoform is used as an antiseptic. Carbon tetrachloride, CCl4, is a very good solvent. It is also used in the preparation of aerosols and extensively used as a cleaning fluid. And coming to the most important one, freons. You would have already heard about freons in your school. Freons are nothing but chlorofluorocarbons. In short, they are called as CFCs. Clear? Chlorofluorocarbons. Now, where did you come across chlorofluorocarbons? Yes, you would have come across that primarily in the depletion of ozone layer. When you spoke about depletion of ozone layer, the holes that are caused in the ozone layer is primarily because of these compounds, chlorofluorocarbons. Now, where are they used? They are used as aerosols, refrigerant, and air conditioning. So usually anything to do with cooling systems employ freons. That's why we should minimize the use of refrigerators and air conditioners. Even though it is very hot in the summer, we have a tendency to look at an air conditioner. An air conditioner is very, very dangerous. It will cause holes to the ozone layer. And if the ozone layer is depleted, the harmful ultraviolet rays of the sun will directly hit earth, and we will get exposed to the ultraviolet rays, causing skin infections. All this is caused because of who? Because of freons. Freons are needed because they're used in the cooling industry, but at the same time, its overuse has caused bigger trouble than its actual usage. Then, one other polyhalogen compound that was extensively used is DDT. Now, DDT is an insecticide. Uh, it was used extensively until some time. Then there was some control that was introduced. Even now, people use it in small pockets to drive away insects. What is DDT? DDT is dichloro. So you have two chloro here. So dichloro, then diphenyl. So two phenyl groups. Clear? Trichloro. So there are three chlorine atoms here. Clear? And ethane. One, two. So two carbon atoms. This is the parent chain, ethane. This is the full form of DDT. So what is the full form? Dichloro, diphenyl, trichloro, ethane. So ethane is the parent chain. To the ethane, I have the three chlorine atoms directly attached and the two phenyl rings with chlorines attached at the para position. This is the structure of DDT, which was extensively used as an insecticide in the past. Clear? All right, with this, we come to the end of the first chapter, haloalkanes and haloarenes. One of the most significant chapters. If you look at the questions that can come, I told you one question will surely be asked with respect to nucleophilic substitution. Compulsory question, either SN1 mechanism or SN2 mechanism, or differentiate between SN1, SN2 mechanism. Something that will be asked. Other than that, you have a few name reactions there. Finkelstein reaction, Schwartz reaction, Wurtz reaction, Fittig reaction, Wurtz Fittig reaction, electrophilic substitution reaction. So you have come across few reactions with names. All these reactions become important as a 2-mark question. This is an important chapter with respect to competitive exams as well. This forms the basis understanding for the next set of chapters that follow. So until the next chapter, alcohols, phenols, and ethers. Thank you. Namaste.